Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the meeting of the Transit Commission for November 8th, 2017. Bonjour à tous et tous. I hope that everyone had a very safe and enjoyable October, and depending on your perspective, got enough trick-or-treaters or too many, I suppose. We're going to begin today's Transit Commission meeting by recognizing some OC Transpo employees from the months of April through August who exemplified the values of the Transit program by demonstrating compassion and concern for individuals in need. Nous commencerons la réunion de la Commission des Transports en soulignant les comportements exemplaires des employés des mois d'avril à août. Ces personnes ont incarné les valeurs du programme Transit en faisant preuve de compassion et de préoccupation à l'égard d'autres qui avaient besoin d'aide. Bus operator Corey was working on Route 95 on the afternoon of April 25th when he realized there was a child with special needs on board the bus who had been separated from his group that he was traveling with. The child's group had recently disembarked at Baseline Station, but the child had accidentally remained on the bus. Realizing what had happened, Corey stopped the bus at the next station. He called the Transit Operations Control Center to inform them of the situation and asked for support. The Control Center proceeded to send a transit special constable to meet the bus. The special constable was able to safely reunite the child with his group, and as a result of Corey's keen sense of observation, quick action, and caring nature, everyone was okay. On May 6th, the Transit Operations Supervisor, Sean, was out performing his regular duties when he was flagged down by two people near Lees Avenue and Chapel Street. They indicated that a man in the area was walking around with a knife and swinging it at people. Sean located the suspect at the corner of King Edward and Mann. He then safely observed the suspect and called the Transit Operations Control Center, who requested that the Ottawa Police attend the scene. Sean was able to convey the suspect's description and his direction of travel to the Control Center, who relayed this information on to police dispatch. The Ottawa Police arrived quickly and arrested the subject. Because of Sean's quick thinking, he helped to de-escalate a potentially dangerous situation. On June 13th at 11 a.m., bus operator Mohammed was at Saint Laurent Station waiting to start his next scheduled trip when he noticed a woman fall and begin to have seizures. Remaining calm, Mohammed immediately attended to the woman and helped try to stabilize her. He then proceeded to call 911. Transit Special Constables arrived shortly thereafter and informed the Transit Operations Control Center, who dispatched a transit supervisor to the scene for additional support. Paramedics arrived a short time later to take over and transport the woman to hospital. Mohammed's quick thinking and calm approach helped ensure the woman's immediate health and safety. Thank you, Mohammed, for going above and beyond to help someone in need. Bus operator Mike was driving Route 95 on the evening of July 7 when he noticed an unconscious male on the ground next to Bayview Station. Mike got out of his bus to check on the man's well-being and soon realized that medical help was necessary. Mike immediately went back to his bus and contacted the Transit Operations Control Center for further assistance. Special constables, the Ottawa Fire Department, and paramedics soon arrived. Mike remained calm and on the location to help direct first responders to the man in distress and to provide any information needed. After being treated by paramedics, the man regained consciousness and was transported to hospital. Thanks to Mike's quick thinking and intuition, a potentially serious situation was avoided. On July 25th, while en route number 11, bus operator Ron heard a customer on board requesting help. Ron went to assess the situation and quickly realized it was a serious medical issue. The customer was going into anaphylactic shock. Ron and two other passengers quickly sprung into action to provide assistance and ensure the customer was immediately transported to hospital. Thanks to Ron's quick reaction and first aid knowledge, the woman's serious medical emergency was treated, and thank you, Ron, for going above and beyond to help someone in need. Bus operator Manjinder was working on Carling Avenue near Richmond Road on August 13th when a passenger boarded the bus and informed him of an altercation that had taken place on another bus nearby. Manjinder asked for a description of the suspect and relayed this information to the Transit Operations Control Center. The suspect's description was relayed to special constables who are already en route responding to the first bus. Thanks to Manjinder's attention to detail and quick thinking, vital information was received quickly, aiding in the capture of the suspect by transit special constables. The 6 stories we've heard today remind us of what it means and looks like to be a caring, considerate, and ready to help others. And we're very fortunate to have bus operators and supervisors, transit constables, and other employees at OC Transport who are always on the lookout for ways that they can help the rest of us in the community. And I want to commend, the gentlemen that are here this morning. And I please ask you all to come up to receive your certificates. Welcome everyone again to the Transit Commission meeting for the 8th of November. As we all know, we're going to have the tabling of the budget today. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing no declarations of interest, we did receive regrets from Commissioner Milno and Commissioner Mallow. Confirmation of the minutes 24 from the 20th of September 2017. Carried. Thank you very much. Item number 1 is the draft operating capital budgets. There's obviously a presentation on that. The Equipass is wrapped up into the budget presentation. Status update, Transit Commission's motions and inquiries for the period ending 1 November 2017. That the Transit Commission received this report for information. Is it received? Received. Thank you very much. And item number 4 is delegation of authority. Contracts awarded for period Jan 1 to June 30. That the Transit Commission and Council received this report for information. Is this received? Received. Thank you very much. Mr. Manconi, over to you and your team.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the Transit Commission. I want to walk you through how the budget that's before you, the draft budget for 2018, was put together. That's before you. So the key foundational pieces are the alignment with the Transit Affordability Plan. That includes everything from the capital contributions to the revenue cost ratio targets. There's a 2.5% increase to the transit levy as identified in our affordability plan that you've approved. And there's a prorated share of the estimated 1.3 in tax increases resulting from growth assessment. In terms of ridership, the budget is built on 97.2 million conventional trips and 800,000 trips on para. On fare revenue, there's about 195 million from conventional service and 2.1 from para services. The fare increases, they're aligned with the report that you previously approved in 2016. That's 2.5%. And the UPass is obviously locked into the contractual obligations that kick in on September 1 of every year. In terms of the costs and how the costs and the funding align, there's about $520 million in expenditures budgeted for 2018. 409 million of that is for operating costs. There's contributions of about $70 million to the capital reserves, and then there's a small pension deficit of about $0.2 million, and then debt charges are the remaining $41 million. In terms of funding, fares generate about $197 million, property taxes $285 million, and then there's other revenue, including the provincial gas tax revenue that comes in at about $38 million. In terms of balancing the budget so that we can get in line with the affordability plan, there's a base adjustment, a small base adjustment netting out at about $0.2 million. There's maintaining costs, everything from COLA to diesel adjustments going down and so forth. That nets out at about $11.9 million. Growth represents about $2.3 million. And that's made up of there's some costs to maintain our new Fairgate equipment. There's funding for the Rural Support Services program of about $100,000. And there's some minor support costs for the EquiPass, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, EquiFare. So that nets out to about $2.3 million for growth. And then revenue nets out at about $4.6 million with a target of achieving of $9.8 million, bringing our fare cost ratio at 51.1%. And we're always happy when it's over the 50% mark. We're up slightly from last year. Last year we're at 51%. So it's minor, but it's heading in the right direction. In terms of capital highlights, we continue to maintain our fleet. So there's $50 million to replace our buses. There is $500,000 to improve accessibility at our transitway station and O-train stations. There's $3.7 million worth of investments for everything from bus stop shelters and customer improvements. And there's continued investment in ensuring that we improve the mobility for our buses, transit priority, lane configurations, and so forth of almost $9 million. The customer-facing systems and paratransport systems, an investment of $1.5 million, and that's to keep us current and ensuring that we're continuing to provide our customers with the up-to-date technology that they need for their trips. Next, Mr. Chair, you referenced the EquiFare, and you heard it in the Mayor's speech. I'm going to give you the details associated with that. It's been built into the budget. You gave us direction to develop a single ride fare option for transport services and include it in the budget, which we've done. You also further directed us that it be implemented no later than Q2, and so that is the plan. It's a single ride fare that's going to be available to customers with low income by no later than June 30th. We have included a budget pressure of $150,000 to fund some temporary staffing to perform the customer outreach activities. And you'll recall last year when we rolled out the EquiPass, I said that we were going to do it with existing resources, and we did. And I want to commend our management team and our staff that did that. This just stretches us even further, so we're just asking for some temporary funding to make sure that we continue to do an excellent rollout. To my knowledge, we've had 0 complaints on how we rolled out the EquiPass, and we just want to continue that positive outreach program. Funding for this program is part of the Community and Social Services operating budget. And the way it's going to work, it's a 50% discount on the regular adult fare for transit customers. It's going to provide a lower price option for individuals or families who can't either afford or don't require a full EquiPass. So you're further extending the support services that our community depends on. So it's a very positive step forward. It's going to be the same process as the EquiPass. We're not going to burden people with different and unique one-offs. We're going to keep it as simple as we can. And those that already have the EquiPass set on their Presto card don't need to do this again in order to activate that option. So technology is obviously working in everyone's favor. We estimate there's about 4,100 customers with low incomes that now pay single ride fares and would be eligible for this program. And the price of that translates into $1.75 in 2018. The other thing we're doing is our continuous modernization is with the rollout of fare gates. We're now able to offer multi-day passes. You approved that in your report back in June of 2016. That's targeted towards both residents and visitors who need unlimited travel for a defined period. And they're going to be available at our new ticket machines along the O-train stations, and some of the BRT stations are also going to have these passes available through the vending machines when we roll that out. They're going to be available for 3, 5, and 7 days, and we'll advise our customers through our normal channels later in 2018 when they're available. Slide 9, those are the passes, the multi-day passes, and the team has done a very good job of pricing them so that there's no workarounds. Obviously, we don't want to lose revenue. They're fair and they're balanced, so there is a science to how you map these things out. Otherwise, people start doing math on the fly, and you lose revenue through passes and so forth. So it looks simple on the surface, but there's an art to it. And then lastly, Mr. Chair, members of Commission, want to highlight the good work that we're doing in investing in service to our growing areas. That's a list of the routes that we're expanding. Most of them kick in December 27th. I think there's one of them, the one out to the Minto Rec Complex, starts December 24th. The rest of them will roll out there. So this is the budget that you have before you includes the operating costs of about $3.5 million. That's your investment on operating. You had the capital last year of those double-decker buses. And then fares offset that $3.5 million by about $1.8 million. So you're netting out of $1.7 million. So you're continuing to invest in servicing our expanding communities. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That concludes the presentation. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manconi, and thank you to your entire team. I know putting the budget together and putting the new routes together is a complex and time-consuming process. As was the case with the budget at Council, we'll keep questions to an exceedingly high level, s'il vous plaît, and we'll wrap any questions for item number 2, and at the same time, let's just do it all at once, and we can get you home for dinner. Councillor Eglai, please.
Thank you very much. I hope this question falls into the category of general, and discussed it briefly with the GM on the way over here. One of the concerns that I've heard about the introduction of the Equifare, which I think is a great thing, and I'm glad to see we found a way to do it, but one of the concerns that's been raised for me by some community groups is how are people going to be identified? In other words, we want the Equifare to be inviting and not stigmatizing. So how are we going to make it seamless so if John Manconi gets on the bus along with somebody else, nobody knows who's paying what and how they got there?
There will be no stigmatization. You'll either have it on your Presto card if that's the way you choose to set it up, or you'll buy a ticket through the vending machines, and so nobody would know. There is a process, which I'll turn over to Mr. Scrimger, in the event that there's spot checks for fare revenue checks. In terms of that process. Pat, if you could just comment on that.
So anyone applying does so privately. There's no attention drawn on them then. They're making a transaction with the city to get the registration. Once it's set up on their card, they can replenish their card, the Presto card, online or at a customer service center or at a ticket machine. And then when they tap it on the bus or on the gates to enter into a train station, it's just a routine transaction.
Just really quick follow-up. You also said they could buy tickets at the fare machine. So how does the machine know that you qualify?
I'm sorry, it's only to be available on Presto card.
Oh, I'm sorry. So yeah. It's only available on Presto card.
Sorry about that.
Okay. And will we be doing an outreach to the various community organizations that would work with the population that sort of at that income level, so they know how to do it and assist them in getting cards, and the same sort of thing we've done with the Equipass?
Same, very much the same as we have done and continue to do with the Equipass, and just to do a little more of it and go back and see some of the same groups again and help them to stay connected with us on how they can show the people they represent, the people they serve, how they can apply.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Councillor Eglai. Councillor Brockington.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to Mr. Manconi and staff for the presentation. Just to keep it high level, in your fare estimates, are you anticipating a ridership bump once the LRT opens?
We've built in a 1% overall increase for 2018.
Okay. And you had mentioned in your presentation the replacement of 80 buses for your fleet. I thought we were shedding almost up to 600 buses once LRT opened. So can you explain why we would be buying 80 new buses?
Yes. No, we're shedding approximately, last count, about 180 buses, I believe is the number. And this is just to maintain the ones you're keeping, so you always keep your fleet in a state of good repair. So we do two things. We do midlife recycle at year 7, and then at year 15 we're disposing those vehicles because they've reached end of life, and we're just keeping your fleet very current, and that's why you have such a reliable fleet.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, through you, just to table a question to OC Transpo today, if I could get an answer soon, which will help me through this budget process. But there have been a number of concerns raised with respect to paratranspo, the booking system, some challenges that my residents and others spoke to a year ago. Can I have a better understanding what has happened within the past year to improve paratranspo and sort of the plans going forward? Again, I don't expect the details today, but it would help me that if I would like to move anything to make improvements going forward, I have that information sooner rather than later.
So we'll treat that as an inquiry. Perfect. Thank you. Councillor Wilkinson.
Yeah, going back to the low-income pass, is this going to be available for children as well as adults? Because there are low-income families where there are children involved.
The price that's recommended is a 50% discount for the single ride fare, as it was for the monthly pass. For the monthly pass, that can be attractive to children because it's cheaper than the alternative, which is a youth monthly pass. For the single ride fare, the 50% discount is the same as the 50% discount that's already available to children. So probably they could register for it, but it wouldn't provide any financial benefit.
Well, what about a child maybe 10 years old that's with the parent? How do you handle that? I mean, usually we can do it on the same Presto card as their parent, but do they have to pay the full children's fare then, or have you thought that through? Somebody with a low-income pass may have kids,
right,
and they have to take them, say, to the doctor, and they go in the bus.
And they can, I believe, I will check. I believe they can pay as now on the same Presto card, and if not, we will just issue them another card.
I think it's something that will happen, and we should be prepared for it.
No, we'll be prepared for it.
Okay, that's great. And what's the income threshold now, approximately? Do you know, for getting the pass? Will be the same, I guess, for getting the desk. It's pretty low, I know, but I guess it varies a bit for the size of the family too.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll look that up, and we can come back if that works for you.
Sometimes we get asked, and I can't remember. Thank you. I'll look at the budget more. We haven't got it yet, so it's pretty hard to comment on the budget because we haven't received it yet.
Well, this session's not designed to comment on the budget.
I can't comment on something I haven't seen.
And that's why we're going to have a prolonged opportunity
another time
in a few weeks. Yeah.
Are we going to get them at the end of this meeting, Mr. Chair?
Clerks is circulating. I have my budget binder in my office already, so I presume Clerks is already circulating.
Oh, that's in the budget book. Okay.
Yeah. Councillor Nussbaum.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just two quick questions following up on some of the other ones that have already been asked. On the Equifare ask, will there be also a request in your budget, in your draft budget, for either new resources or other existing resources to ensure that residents are aware of both the Equifare, both the single fare and the monthly pass? And the reason that I ask that is I happened to be at an OCH building last week, and we were talking about transit, and the people I was talking with were not aware even of the Equifare, and it made me think there probably is an opportunity for greater public awareness, and I'm just want to. So the question is, are you asking for that money in the budget, or do you feel you have existing resources to ensure that there's high literacy and awareness about these two discounts?
That's the $150,000 that I highlighted, and to do exactly what you're talking about. And I encourage every member of council in your networks, if you hear of a gap we got to close, please send a note to Pat, and we will get out there and work with them.
Great. And second question, just following up on Councillor Brockington's question on the assumption of a 1% ridership increase. I know that we don't know the exact date of when Phase 1 will open, but is it essentially is the assumption essentially static ridership until such time as the LRT opens, and then a 2% increase roughly? I think that's what the long-range financial plan was, but I'm just wondering, in very rough terms, what the assumptions are. Again, recognizing that there's no established date for the opening.
We all know how sensitive ridership is, and it's an art and a science, and you recall that report that we gave you before when you asked some of these similar questions. We took our best cut at, because we've had some ridership dips lately, so I think we're netting out, when it's all said and done, I'm looking at my notes, I believe overall about 0.5% compared to last year, when you add that 1% and then we factor in where we currently believe we are on ridership.
Sorry, can you say that number again?
So we look at where we are with ridership. We've been flat. We've had some ups, some downs, and so we factored all that into where we are right now. And we added the 1% increase that we had originally modeled for LRT. That was the best guesstimate at the time, and that all nets out to, I believe, 0.5% compared to last year. I'm just looking at Pat. Am I reading that correctly, Pat? I think so. Yeah. It's 0.5% is the net.
A 0.5% increase over expected 2017 numbers.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's important to note that that's also based on LRT being in service for half the year and not the entirety of the budget year. Commissioner Crew.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one quick question. With the introduction of the aquifer, I echo Councillor Eglei's comments that, thank you for following through on that and introducing that. I do think it's an important enhancement to what we already have. I also want to thank, Council for the approach of continuing to fund this through community and protective services, because I feel that's where funding for this belongs. I'm just wondering what work has been done on looking at the effect of the introduction of an equifare on the sale of the number of equipasses and what the impact of that will be.
We have numbers on where we are with the passes, and we can certainly follow up with you on your second part of the question.
That'd be appreciated. Thank you very much. It's my only question.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Crew. Mr. Scrimgeour, I understand you have an answer to Councillor Wilkinson's question.
Yes, Mr. Chair. The current low-income cutoff set by the Government of Canada for a family of one person, it's an annual net income of $20,700. For a family of four, it's $39,000 per year, and there's other scales. It's defined for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 or more person family, and it's currently set at based on 2015 incomes. We understand that Statistics Canada updates this about once a year based on numbers that are about 1 year older than that.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Councillor Kakish has some questions.
Thank you, Chair. And it's just a quick question on the growth areas. And I want to thank staff because I know this is something that you've been hearing from many of the suburban councillors, especially with all the growth and development. It's nice to finally see growth service expansion for the first time, I think, in a decade in areas like Riverside South, Finley Creek in my area, Barrhaven, as well as Canada, Orleans, and different parts of the city as well. I'm just interested in the rollout. I think you mentioned the date December 24th, but I know there's with the federal funding for the 17 new buses. Can you just talk about how you'll be rolling that out in December, and if you'll be doing that all at once, or if you'd be getting in touch with us for the different routes that are going to be happening for the growth and expansion areas in December?
We issued a memo that had some of those details, and what we can certainly do is talk to you about your individual routes one-on-one in terms of that. But I believe, I'm just looking over at Troy, all of these roll out on the 27th, save and except the Route 95 extension. So on that day, they roll out according to the schedule, and if you need the detailed schedule, we can certainly give you that.
Sure, I think
if
in terms of communicating that closer to the date to residents so they're aware of the changes that are happening. And I know we have already, but if everything's on time and on track with that, if we can do something in terms of communications closer to that rollout date.
Mr. Chair, with your support, we'll issue a follow-up to all the affected councillors with the specifics and an offer to meet if you need that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that'll be very much appreciated. Any other questions? Seeing none, Councillor Kakish has some motions.
That the Transit Commission receive, table, and refer this item to its meeting December 4th, 2017.
Received, tabled, and forwarded? Carried? Yeah, thank you very much.
Do you want to do the Equipass one now?
There's a motion now on the Equipass, yes.
That the Transit Commission receive, table, and refer this item to its meeting on December 4th, 2017.
Is carried? Carried. Carried. Thank you very much. There are no in-camera items. Are there any notices of motion? Seeing none, inquiries. We'll treat Mr. Brockington's question as an inquiry. Thank you. No other business. Adjournment. The next meeting is on the 4th of December.